Hi there, 7th graders. It's Mrs. Trombley. You received a retake packet in class if you were a candidate to be able to retake Unit 10 test. And I want to walk you through this review so that when you retake it, you get a much better score than the first time around. You need to make sure that you complete this packet. You write down everything I write and some additional information after that. And you have to have this completed and turned in before you'll be allowed to retake that test on Friday. All right, so for 1 through 6, we just ask you to solve these equations. It says that I also want you to show that you have checked every single answer. I'm not going to do the check for you. I'll work through the problems with you. It'll be your responsibility to show the check so we can see that you know how to do that. And if you don't know how to show the check, then you need to see one of us at lunchtime or during T2R. All right, so number 1, I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to keep change. The first step in a multi-step is to look for any like terms to combine. Well, actually it's to distribute, but there aren't any parentheses. Then I'm going to look for like terms. Nothing over here, but over here we have a 1 and we have a 5. So I'm going to put those together because they're on the same side of the equal sign. And what I have here is just a 2-step equation. So I want to get the variable term by itself. I'm going to get rid of that 6 by adding a -6. 6 plus -6 is 0. Negative 2n is left. Now I have a number multiplied by the letter. To undo multiplication, we divide, and we get n equals 0. Maybe I'll show you how to do one check. So 6 will equal 1 plus -2 times 0 plus 5. All you do to check it is you rewrite what's in the original equation, but you replace the letter with the number that you got. So 6 should be equal to 1 plus -2 times 0 plus 5. -2 times 0 is 0, and 1 plus 5 is 6. Bam. We know that it's right. All right, move on to number 2. Number 2, step 1, I'm going to look for parentheses after I keep change it. I don't see any parentheses. I'm going to look for like terms on either side of the equal sign. Nope, there aren't any. So now I see, oh, there's a variable here and there's a variable here. I need them all on one side. Why don't we just put them all on the left? And you can just get in the habit of putting them all on the left. So if you have a variable term that's on the right, we want to cancel that one out. How do you cancel out a 7x? You add a -7x. Do that to both sides. 8x plus -7x gives you a positive 1x, which is just plain old x. I still have that -2. And there's a -9 left over here. Now what you really have is just a 1-step. I want to get rid of this -2. To get rid of things that are being added, you add the opposite of them. And -9 plus 2 is -7. Many of you made errors on the positive negative version, or you wrote like this was 11, or all kinds of different little things. If you plug it back in, then you'll know. So plug it back in. Show us your check. Show us that you know the answer is -7. Make that a habit. All right, look at number 3. I'm going to add the opposite, draw my line. Okay, I see that there aren't any parentheses, there aren't any like terms on either side, but there is a variable on both sides. I want them all on one side. So like I said before, we're just going to move them all to the left. So if I want 8p to cancel out from here, that means I need to add the opposite of it. You add the opposite of things you want to cancel out. 5p plus -8p is -3p. We still have our plus -14. And now over here all that's left is 4. Alright, I want this -14 to go away. I need to add a positive 14. That's how you get rid of things that are being added. You add the opposite of them. -3p is left. 4 plus 14 is 18. Number next to the letter means multiplication, so we divide to get rid of it. And p equals -6. Somewhere in the space you have left, I want you to show me that you know p equals -6 by plugging it in here, plugging it in here, and making sure that one side equals the other. All right, moving on to number 4. Keep change. Draw your line. No parentheses, no like terms here, but I do have like terms over here. So I'm going to rewrite this side. 5p plus 3p is 8p plus -8. Okay, variable on both sides. I'm going to move them all to the left. So that means I want 8p to cancel out. To cancel it out, I add the opposite of it. Remember, and there's not a number in front of the letter, there's really a 1. So 1p plus negative 8p is negative 7p. I still have that negative 1, and negative 8 is left on this side. It's just a two-step now. Add the opposite of a negative 1, so negative 7p equals negative 7. Divide by the coefficient of p. I know, I want to laugh too. I know this is a serious time, but saying p over and over again makes me laugh too. Those divide out, it's 1p. And negative 7 divided by negative 7 is 1. Any number divided by itself is 1. Don't write that it's 0. It's not. Division doesn't give you 0. Alright, number 5. Finally, some parentheses in here. Alright, we need to distribute. I'm going to rewrite this side because there's nothing to do over here. But over here, I need to take the number next to the parentheses and multiply it by everything inside. That's how you get rid of it. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Bring down the addition sign. Negative 2 times a negative 7n is a positive 14n. If you don't know that a negative times negative is a positive, then type it in your calculator while you are taking this test. Don't just guess. Alright, I want all of my letters on one side, because I can see there's no like terms here, but there's variable on both sides. I'm going to move this negative 14, well, I'm going to move the positive 14 over here by adding a negative 14n. 5n plus negative 14n is negative 9n. I still have that plus 34. Negative 2 is left right there. It's a two-step. Add a negative 34. You get negative 9n equals negative 36. Divide by negative 9. And n equals a positive 4. To check it, you plug an n in there and solve what this side is. You plug the n in there and solve what that side is, and you make sure that this side does equal that side. That's how you check it. Alright, last one like this. I'll keep change. Draw my line. Again, I see we've got some parentheses, so I'm going to rewrite this side. But over here I need to take 6 times 1 and 6 times 3k. So I'm multiplying the 6 by each term inside, keeping the addition sign to separate the terms. Okay, I see there's a variable here, a variable here. I want them all on one side, so I'm just going to get them all on the left. I'll add a negative 18k, because that's how you cancel things out. You add the opposite of them. Alright, so over here I still have this negative 18. When you take negative 18 plus negative 6 for your case, you get negative 24k. And over here you're left with 6. Okay, just a two-step. I want this negative 18 to go away. That means I need to add a positive 18 to it. So negative 24k equals a positive 24. To get rid of a negative 24 that's being multiplied, I'm going to divide by negative 24. And a 24 divided by negative 24 is negative 1. Any number divided by itself is 1, and a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So plug that negative 1 in on this side, plug it in on this side, and make sure it works. Alright, next section. All the directions say is to find the slope of each line and write your answer as a fraction in simplest form. Many of you got this wrong because you just didn't read the directions. All you need to do is find the slope. Slope is rise over run from point to point. So to get from this point to this point, the rise is 1. The run is 2. So again, we went up 1, right 2. Up is positive, right is negative. 1/2 is already simplest form, and you're done. If you wanted to go from this point to this point, you would end up going down 1 and left 2. 1/2 is still 1/2, and isn't a negative divided by a negative a positive? Yes, so if you went down 1, left 2, don't leave it as a negative 1 over negative 2. That's not simplest form. Positive 1/2 is simplest form. Alright, next, doesn't matter if you start up here or down here, I'll start up here. So I want to go from this point to this point. The rise, or the vertical change, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just went down 5, that makes it a negative. The run, or horizontal change, is 1, 2, 3, 4. So negative 5/4. That's it. It's the vertical change over the horizontal change, rise over run. If you went from here to here, then you would go up 5 and you would go left 4. So when one of them is negative, it actually means it doesn't matter which one is. So when we write our simplest form, we put the negative sign right in the middle to show that it could go with a 5 or go with a 4. If that's confusing to you, and you're confused about the positive, negative, but you can figure out, okay, how far up or down, how far left or right, then just look at your line. Say, okay, 5, 4, the line's going down, it's a negative. Just like with this one. It's up 1, right 2, the line's going up, so it's positive. That's an easier way for you. Do it that way. So let's say I'm going from here to here, or let's just look at this that way. See how this line is going down? I know my answer is going to be negative. I'll just plop a negative sign there right now. My vertical change is 1, 2, 3, 4. My horizontal change is 1, 2. So rise over run, 4 over 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. That means my slope is a negative 2. Again, if you did this, we got that negative 2 because you're going down and then right. If you got this on this side, if you went from here to here, you went up and then left. So if you have the negative sign with one of them, it makes your answer negative because in division, one of each means negative. All right, turn your page. This one, a lot of people had a difficult time with. This was actually on your 10.4 quiz. So I would ask that next time when you get your quizzes back and you get stuff wrong, make sure you know why you got it wrong because it's going to end up on a test. Okay, so it says draw the line given using one ordered pair in the slope. If you don't have a ruler, hit pause and grab a ruler. Please use a ruler. When you take your test, use a ruler. Don't just draw your squiggly little line here. I need a nice, neat line. So take a look. The slope is 2/3 and the ordered pair is 4, -1. When you get a problem like this, if slope is how you get from point to point, all you need is 1 point and then you'll know how to move. So step 1 when you get a problem like this is to plot that point. And remember, in an ordered pair, it's x, then y. So if you have the point 4, -1 on your graph, that means 4 on the x-axis, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and -1 on the y. That's the ordered pair where you start. So again, step 1, plot the point. If my slope is 2/3, that means my rise is 2 and my run is 3, because slope is rise over run. So from this point, you're supposed to go up 2 and right 3. But do you see how you can't? I don't just want you to kind of guess where it would be. We can't do it that way. So you have to understand that up to right 3 also means you can do the opposite and go down to left 3. Down to left 3. The reason that works, let me draw this really quick. Remember how we said a -2 over a -3 simplifies to a positive 2/3? On the front side, we said when you have a negative over a negative, don't leave it like that, write it like that. These mean the same exact thing. Those are equal to one another. So going down to left 3 will give you the same slope as up to right 3. I hope that makes sense. If not, see you at lunch. Okay, number 11, same kind of thing. We're going to plot this ordered pair too. So that's first. -2 on the x, 4 on the y. This is -2, 4. If we say our slope is 5, we have the rise, but not the run. You're only given one number. So when you have the rise and you don't have a run, that means you need to put a 1. 5 is equivalent to 5 over 1. Isn't 5 divided by 1 5? Yes. So it's equal. So this means that my rise is 5 and my run is 1. Can you go up 5, right 1 on this graph? No, but remember that a -5 over a -1 equals a +5 over a +1. They simplify to the same thing. So instead of going up 5, right 1 where I don't have room, I can go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left 1. Positive slope means I should have a line that's going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And this line does go up. That's how you can check yourself. All right, for number 12, again, you need to plot the point. That's your first step. So in the ordered pair, it goes x, y. That means right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up 1, 2, 3. Okay, when you see that you have a slope of -1/2, that either means -1 over 2 or 1 over -2. Remember, when it's a negative fraction, it means either the top or the bottom. So let's see. If you go with -1 over 2, that means that you go down 1 and right 2. I can't do that and still be on the graph. But if I do 1 over -2, which is still -1/2 of a slope, +1 on the top means up 1, -2 on the bottom means left 2. So we can do that one. Up 1, left 2. So when you see that you have a negative slope, you either put the negative with the top or the bottom. Do whichever one fits on your graph. All right, so when you get a slope and a point, plot the point and then use the slope to go from one point to another. Okay, for the next set, all you have to do is look at the equation, make sure it's in y equals mx plus b form, and the number in front of the x is the slope, the m, and the number b is by itself. B stands for by itself. So I'm looking at this, I see y is already alone. To figure out what m is, I just look for the coefficient of x. It's 1/4. That's it. The number by itself without a letter next to it is 2. All set. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Look at the next one. Y is already alone. The number next to the x is a -4. Some people on their test wrote that b was 1. Do you see how this is -1? You need to keep change because subtracting 1 is the same thing as adding a -1. So subtracting 1 is the same thing as adding -1. That means the b of this, the number that's by itself, is actually a -1. So you should always keep change. When you look at number 15, a lot of people on their test wrote, oh, the m is 4 and the b is -10. It's not. This isn't solved for y. You need to get y by itself before you can do what we just did. So to get y alone, I'm going to start by getting 5y alone. That means I want to cancel out 4x from this side. How do you cancel out numbers that are being added? You add the opposite of them. So I'm going to add a -4x to each side. 5y equals -10 plus -4x. Y is still not alone. You need to divide it by 5. So y is equal to a -10 divided by 5 is -2. And then I have -4/5 x. I can't do 4 divided by 5, and 4/5 is already in simplest form, so I can just leave that. -4/5 x. So the m, the coefficient of x, isn't -2. -2 is the b because it's by itself. -4/5 is the coefficient of x. All right, next set. I ask you to graph each linear function using the slope and the y-intercept. So we just looked at an equation and identified the m and the b. That's what I need you to do first. So in looking at this, it's already solved for y. The m is 1/4. The b is 2. Okay, coefficient of x, that's your m. By itself, that's your b. To graph this, all you need to do is plot the y-intercept. This is the y-axis. If we're saying that b is the y-intercept, that means it needs to touch the y-axis. And since it's 2, it touches the y-axis on 2. So plot that first. Okay, b comes before m in the alphabet. B has to happen first when you're doing this step. So now you have your point. This is kind of like 10, 11, 12. You have a point. I know my slope is 1/4. That means from here I need to go vertical change up 1, horizontal change right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So rise over run. Vertical movement, then horizontal movement. Remember that up 1, right 1. I could also say down 1, left 4. I'm sorry, not up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 4 also means down 1, left 4. Because a positive 1 over 4 is the same thing as a -1 over -4. Use your ruler to draw a line that goes all the way through the points. Put little arrows on the end. Say it goes on and on forever and ever, kind of like this review right now, I'm sure. All right, number 17, same thing. My slope is -1/3. I'm just going to put the negative with the 1 for now. The number by itself is a 3. Plot your y-intercept. Plot your b. The y-intercept touches the y-axis. If my slope is -1/3, that means either the 1 is negative, which means down 1, right 3, or I could make the 3 negative and go up 1, left 3. Either way, this line should be heading down because it's a negative slope. All right, last one, y equals 5/3 x. The slope, the number in front of the x, is 5/3. For b, see how there's nothing being added? This means nothing's being added, right? So when you see nothing's being added, that means your y-intercept, your b, is 0. So the starting point is right there, smack dab in the middle. It touches the y-axis at 0. 5/3 means you go up 5, right 3. Or remember that a -5 over a -3 also gives you 5/3. Draw your line. All right, getting to the last page. Turn it over. Okay. For number 19, it says, how can you tell from the equation of two linear functions that they will be parallel? If you recall, we did a little activity in class called Make It Rain. And we tried typing in a bunch of equations. I'm hoping you can see this. And let's say I have y equals 2x. If I have y equals 2x plus 2, y equals 2x plus 4, and I graph that, do you see how those are all parallel lines? Yes, these are parallel. They're never going to cross. When you look at their equations, do you see how the number in front of the x is the same? Isn't the number in front of the x the slope? And the number that's being added is the b. So if lines are going to be parallel, they will have the same slope. Because I asked you how you can tell from an equation. They're going to have the same slope, but a different b. Same slope, different b. So all you have to do, if I said, hey, is y equals 3x and y equals 4 plus 3x, are those equations parallel? You would say, yes, they are, because they have the same slope. So all you have to do to determine if two equations are parallel is look at the coefficient of x. If it's the same, they're parallel, as long as they're not the same exact equation. 3x and 3x aren't parallel. They're right on top of one another. That's not parallel. Parallel aren't allowed to touch. No PDA. All right, look at number 20. It says, how can you tell from the equation of two linear functions which one will be steeper? Well, take a look again. I'm going to clear this out. Let's say that one person you know makes $5 an hour babysitting, and another person that you know makes $10 an hour babysitting. So I have y equals 5x, y equals 10x. I hit graph. There's the 5x. There's the 10x. If I just type in, just to give you kind of an idea here, just y equals x, that's like y equals 1x. So take a look. This is when the slope is 1. This is when the slope is 5. This is when the slope is 10. What happens as the slope increases? The line gets steeper. So how can you tell from the equation of two linear functions which one will be steeper? Whichever one has a higher slope. So for example, if I said y equals 2x and y equals 4x, and I asked you, hey, which one of those would be steeper? You would say, okay, this one has a slope of 2, this one has a slope of 4. It's going to be this one. It has nothing to do with the number that's added. It has everything to do with the slope. So don't look at the y-intercept to tell you which one's going to be steeper. This one could be y equals 2x plus 100. And this would still be steeper because it has nothing to do with the starting point. It has everything to do with the rate that the line is going up by. All right, 21. How can you tell from the equation of a linear function whether the graph will be an increasing line or a decreasing line? Increasing lines go up. Decreasing lines go down. Lines with positive slopes go up. Lines with negative slopes go down. For example, let's clear this out. Get that one go. Okay, so let's just say I have y equals 2x. That's a positive slope, right? I hit graph. That line's going up. If I typed in a negative 2x, there was 2x, negative 2x goes down. So again, nothing to do with the b, everything to do with the m. If it has a positive slope, the line's going to be increasing. If it has a negative slope, the line's going to be decreasing. Finally, this is your job to do. You need to make some flashcards on index cards for these 4 terms. Make sure you know what these mean, because I don't know on your retake if you're going to be lucky enough to have a matching section. You might just have to know these. So make yourself an index card for slope. Front side, write slope. Back side, write what it is. Make yourself an index card for y-intercept, linear function, and slope-intercept form. All 4 of those words are highlighted in the chapter in your book. So you need your math textbook. Know those 4. All right. If you still have questions, make sure you attend lunch help. See you soon.